Hi all, welcome to the channel, welcome to the workshop. Today we have the next 6 issues of the 66 Batmobile. Well, a lot of sixes in that. So we're going to be concentrating on a little bit more of the engine. We've got a couple of our free gifts, so let's get into it. Let's get building. Right, so next pack of the 66 Batmobile. Now, as you expect, we've got the magazines, we've got all the parts, which I'll just put to one side for the minute. But we also have this binder. Well, I suppose it's more of a folder than a binder, which we can just fold up. Like so. Does it quite nice? And you notice we've got a little white spot there. Now, they have also given us some numbers. So we can number all of our binders if we are so inclined to get them all. We can just put a number 1 on there like so. And then also that gives us a nice place for all our magazines. We also have this large folder, and inside are these fantastic posters. Looking just like that. Absolutely brilliant. So we will kick off this build pack with issue 9. You can see just out of shot, but I've brought over some of the parts we've been working on already, because I believe we're just doing pretty much engine today and nothing much else. So we are going to be using all those parts, I believe, but we'll get into it and we'll see what we're doing. So preliminary look through the magazine, as always. It is really good. The design of this I really do like. It's very 60s in its design and the comic style that it's done in. And as you can see, we are assembling more engine parts, and we will need this part of the engine, as you can see. By the time we're finished, we're going to have some cables in place, and we're going to have something that looks just like that. Right, so kicking off with these two pieces. This piece is metal, as you can hear. We've got this plastic cover. This is the cylinder head. I'm just going to place those together like so. And then we've got 2 holes here, and they're going to use the 2 AP screws to hold that in place. One in there. And one just in there. Like so. We're then going to take our exhaust manifold. This is also plastic. We're going to place that just in here, like so. Which I think it goes this way up. We're going to place our exhaust manifold in that way up. And we're going to use 2 AM screws to secure that one in place. Now, I do have my pot of oil just standing by, just to help these cut into the metal. So we've got one in there. And the second one just going in there. Like so. And that's what our cylinder head and exhaust manifold is looking like. We then need this piece, which is the right radiator feeding pipe. And we're going to be placing it into the hole you just see here. Now there are 2 holes there, as you can see, but it's the higher one that we need. And it's this piece that's going in there, just like so. It is quite a tight fit, so it's not going to need any glue. But that's what that is looking like. Now we need to do a bit of prep work. Now, if you, like me, use oil, this is probably unneeded, but we've been asked to use a CM screw in both of these holes, and just to allow the thread to drive through, and then we just need to remove them. So I'm just going to use the same screw and do this one. Now, I'm guessing, although they've shown the picture of it going through this way, whatever we're securing to here, I would assume we're coming from this side. But that's what we've been asked to do, so that's what I've done. Next, we need our spark plugs, which are looking just like that. I'm just going to need to cut these off this sprue, and then they'll be going in the 4 holes you see here. And we've got the last one just going in there. Now these are just a push fit. I've angled them all this way, which is what the illustration shows. It's worth noting that if we lose one, there is one spare in the pack. Right, now I'm going to be bringing over our engine block. So this is obviously what we've done previously. And we are going to be placing this this way around, lining that up, hopefully lining that up, like so. And then we are actually driving the CM screws in from this side. So you could probably skip the original step of creating the holes. Certainly if you use oil like I do, because that would just aid you to cut the threads anyway. I need just a slightly longer reach screwdriver, go in that gap. So we've got that looking just like that. Now we've got some wires. Now, if you've done the Night Rider build, this will probably start filling you with dread, because the Night Rider build was an absolute nightmare for wires. Right, we've got a single wire, which we need to cut into various lengths. And those lengths are 70mm, 80mm, 90mm, and 100mm. If you don't have a cutting mat like this, which has them all measured out, the magazine does have the correct lengths. So you can just lay it on there and cut them to length. So that's what I'm going to do. One, two. Now, as I'm measuring these, I'm not stretching them out, so they are the right size. That's 3. And then we've got this last one to do, 100mm. We've got a little bit left over. Right, going back to our engine block, starting with our shortest one, the 70mm. We need to place it, it looks to be on this one here. Like so. And that's going to then trace around here, underneath this piece, and go into the first spark plug. So I'm just going to get that pushed all the way on, like so. It does go on quite easily, which is good. But if they come off easily, then it's probably worth gluing them, although that does feel pretty secure at the moment. And then what we need to do now is follow this up with the 80mm, the 90mm, and the 100mm. And there is an illustration which I will just show you. So we've got it here. So looking at the distributed cap from this way, so we've got the 70mm on that one. So the next one we have is 80, and it looks to be just a case of miss 2. So 1, 2, and then we'll stick it on that one, like so. And then we miss 1, and we put the 90mm on. Like that. And then the 100mm goes right next to that one. Like so. So we've got those in there like that. We're going to flip it back around. And we've got, as you can see, 80, 90, 100. Basically, shortest to longest all the way along there. So the 80 one on here. Followed by the 90. A pair of tweezers are probably going to help you in doing this. And then we are finishing off with the 100mm just on this last one here. Like so. Just going to make sure all those wires are neatly along there. And that is all there is to do in that stage. Right, so now issue 10. As you can see, more engine parts. And we are building onto what we've already started. So we're going to have something that looks like that at the end of this. So we have our box of parts. And we're going to start off with this piece. And we do have a couple of bags of smaller pieces. I'm going to start off with this piece going into this piece. Now we do have a D-shaped pattern. Now we just need to push those together like so. We're then going to take this piece and we're going to be placing it on top of this piece here, like so. We're going to use 4 AP screws to hold that in place. Now, obviously, these being AP screws, you know that this top piece is plastic. And that's the last one just going in there. Next up, we have these tiny little parts. And they're going to be sitting into the 2 holes either side of this. You do want to make sure that this one with the point is facing outwards. And this one without the point, or the offset point, needs to face this way. I'm just trying to work out if there's a right and a wrong way up for this. I believe it goes this way up, like so. I'll just show you on that camera there. Just going to push those down into place. Now we've got those in place, we need a pipe. Now we've actually got two pipes in this. One's a pipe, one's a vacuum line. I'm not sure which is which. Right, so we've got to cut this is the longer one, into two lengths of 60 millimeters. So theoretically, this is 120 millimeters or thereabouts. Possibly. We've got this one here, which is only just under 100. So yeah. So we take the longer one, we need to cut it into two lengths of 60. So that's 6 of these squares. It does look like I'm going to have some left over when doing this. We'll just double that one back over. We'll cut that one there. So we've now got two lengths of 60 with a small piece left over. And we're going to fit this onto the fuel injet, which is this one just here. Might be slightly easier if you pull it off and then put that one back in. Now again, that pipe's on there quite tightly, so hopefully we won't have any issues with it falling off like we did on the Night Rider car. Next, we're going to take this piece, and that's going to slot over the top of this, lining up the holes with the tops of this, and this hole with the peg that's in the middle there. Going to be a little bit fiddly to try and get this all to line up. Right, so managed to get that on there. Now we are asking to put an AP screw on there, but with the amount of force I've used to put that in there, it really does not need a screw, but I'm going to put one in anyway. And it is, as I say, an AP screw going in just there. So that's looking like that. We're then going to be taking this piece and this small piece. And again, you'll see there's a D-shaped hole and a D-shaped peg. I'm just going to push those together like so. We're then going to place that on top of this piece. Again, another D-shaped pattern. Just going to marry that up and push it together like so. That's then going on top of this assembly here. And you'll see we've got two pegs and two holes. And it's going this way around. It's going this way around. We've got it on that way around, like so. We then have our bracket, it looks like. And this piece. And again, we have a D-shaped peg and a D-shaped hole. So that's going to go on like so. That is then going just on here. And we're going to use an AP screw to secure that in place just there. So that one's in there, like so. We then need this item, which is the vacuum line fitting. And we need to take our 60 millimeter piece that we cut earlier. That's going on this end, like so. And then we've got the one that's labelled a vacuum hose or vacuum line, and that's going on this end, like so. That is then going into the hole just here. Like so. Next we have this bracket, and that's going on the underside. That's just going to go there and there. And we're going to use 2 more AP screws to hold that in place. Lots of AP screws in this issue. Last one just going in there. And now we're going to use that bracket to marry it up with our engine block. Just like that. Make sure it's pushed all the way over. So it goes over the top of that one. And then with this one, we're going to use a DM screw to secure that. So it's looking just like that. And now we need to run a couple of these cables. So we've got this one here, which is the vacuum hose. Now, they have mislabeled the instructions because they both say 10D, which one of these is not 10D. But I believe the one that comes from the vacuum hose, if I'm looking at the instructions correctly, goes there. And this one goes on there, like so. So we've got something that looks just like that. And that is the end of that stage. Okay, so moving on to issue 11. And as you can see, we're working on the other side of the engine. I think this build pack is just all engine. We're going to end up with something that looks like that. Looks like we don't need that part for this stage. Right, so these are the parts we get. And we're starting off with this piece. And this piece. Now quite simply just going to be joining those two together. Just like that. And then we're going to use an AM screw from the top to hold that in place. Just like that. Again, attach that to our engine block. Again, this engine block is metal. We're quite simply just going to be attaching it just here, like so. I'm going to use an AM screw from behind. Just ensure that is straight and it's in there like so. Next we need this piece, and that just pushes into the hole you see there. Again, quite a stiff fit, but that's looking like that. So next we're going to need our oil pan that we created previously. And we've got that going in just there, like so. And I've got this cut out for this screw, so you know it's in the right place. And we've got 2 AP screws to go in there. You need my longer reach screwdriver again for this one. I've got the second one just going in there. That's looking like that. Now we've got this pipe just here. Now we're going to just take that and put it onto this piece here. Just on like so. Now we're going to be assembling the fuel pump. So we have this piece, we have this piece, and we have another pipe. So we've got D-shaped hole, D-shaped plug. Just going to push those together. Again, nice stiff fit. So they're not going to fall apart. And on this silver lug, we are going to attach the pipe. Like so. That's going to be going on the side of the engine, just here. And again, it's just a push fit. Like so. And we're going to finish off with the oil filter, which is going to push into this hole here. So that's looking just like that. And that is the end of that stage. Moving on with issue 12. And looks like we're assembling the other cylinder head. Fit some more spark plugs, more cabling, and it looks like we are actually joining the engine together as well. And we have something that looks like that at the end of it. These are our new engine parts. And again, we've got plastic cover, and this part's metal. And we are going to start off the same way as we did before, by putting those two bits together and using two AP screws to go in there. From the looks of it, we've got pretty much the same procedure as the first part of this stage, where we're just assembling this block and attaching it to the engine, although we will be joining the two halves of the engine together as well. So they are in there. In this section again, and that one is going this way up, and just in this hole here, like so. I want to make sure that's pushed all the way in, and then there's no chance of it coming back out. So that's going just like that. We then have our exhaust manifold, and similar way we did before, just going to push it through those two slots, line up with the holes in there, and use two AM screws to hold that in place. That's one, and that's two. Now we are being told to drive the two CM screws into there again. I'm not going to do it this time around. That seemed fairly easy to go in before. So what I'm going to do is take this part of the engine, and we will be placing that in there like so, and using the two CM screws to hold that in place. We're going to do that from underneath. I think if you just put it in a little bit of oil with the holes that are already pre-drilled, this is going to do the exact same principle of just creating those threads, and you won't have any problems at all. As you can see. So that's on there, just like that. Now we do need to put our spark plugs in, and again, they came on this sprue, so we just need to cut those off. Now you do want to make sure that they are pushed all the way in, otherwise they won't hold themselves in. As you can see, they're absolutely fine like that. So now comes the engine assembly, really. So we're going to take our gearbox that we created before. We're going to take this side of the engine, and with the gearbox this way around, that's just going to go over that lug like so. And then we're going to take the other half of our engine, and that's just going to go and sandwich that together. Right, so we've got that now sandwiched together like so. And we're going to use a couple of CM screws in these two holes to hold that together, like so. So that's looking just like that. It's pretty good. Now, I have had this piece fall off. That's come from the bell housing. So I'm just going to place that one back in there. Right, we also need to retrieve this piece. This we got in issue 5. And that is going just in the holes you see here on the bell housing. So just push that in like so. And now we have more cabling to do. Now, same as what we did before, we do need to cut this into various lengths, and we need to trail them around like we did these ones for the spark plugs, but obviously on the other side this time. Now, they are longer on this one, so we've got a much longer cable. But again, the magazine has given us the lengths in the magazine, so we can just put this against it and measure up. And they are 100 mil, 110, 120, and 140 millimeters. So just stretching the cable out like this, make it a little bit easier to work with. And then I'll get these cut. So we've got all those cut to length. We do have a small piece left over, so I'm going to put it to one side. I've just realised that I've got my spark plugs pointing in the wrong direction. They need to be this way around. Right, that's better. We've now got the spark plugs facing the correct direction. So we're going to start off with our 100mm wire. And we're going to push that on the end of our first spark plug. Like so. We're then going to route that round to the distributor cap. And this one is going through here. And we're going to end up on this one just here. We're just going to route it through there and pop it on that one just there. And as we did before, shortest to longest, we're just going to place these on. So they're all on there, shortest to longest. And we're just going to run them around to the distributor cap as before. Got 110mm one going on here. Got the 120mm one going on this one in between. And then finally we've got the 140mm one. And that's going on the last one of the outer. So we can just route that one through. Again, just going to cut that off square. And again, might be useful with a pair of tweezers. We'll push that one on like that. So we've got all those running into there. Now, what I do want to do is just tidy them up a little bit so that they run in a bunch like that, and they're down the side of the engine neatly like so. But that is all there is to do in that stage. So moving on to issue 13. And more engine details. I did say this pack was going to be all engine, and I don't think I'm wrong. So as you can see, we're just putting a lot more detail to the front of the engine. We're going to end up with something that looks like that. We're going to start off this one with this piece and this piece, which I believe is a dipstick. And that's just going to go into the hole on the side there. Like so. Now next we have this pipe and this cap. And that just goes on there, a circular hole, so yeah, it just pushes on, like so. We're going to fit that just here. Now it does need to go behind the dipstick. So it sits just like that. That's just to push on, like so. That's going to sit on the front of our engine. Like so. And then we've got 3 AM screws to hold that in place. And the final one just in there. We then have our water pump, and that's going to go on the front here. We've got this shape, so you're going to line up like that. Right, so we've got this going on here, but we're not securing that with any screws at the moment. What we need is this piece from issue 13, and this is our generator bracket. Yeah, generator bracket. We're going to use this to secure it with 1 UP and 1 AM screw. And the way this is going is this way around. So you remember I said that this is movable a bit? Well, I'm going to place this bracket behind here. We're going to secure that through with the AM screw. So it might be easier just to do this one first and just bring it out so you can hold this piece behind it. So we've got that in there like so. And then we place the water pump in position like that. This has got a little lug on the back, which is going to go into that hole there. In fact, it might be easier just to put that in the hole first, like so. We can then double check and ensure this is tight. And then we can slot this water pump in behind. I think that is probably the easier way of doing it rather than trying to hold that in place while putting this in. We've got a UP screw to go into that one there. So again, just holding that in place. And a single UP screw is going to go through a lot of those. And hold everything in place. Like so. And place that to one side for a second. There's now going to be assembling the crankshaft pulley. Alright, so we're going to start off with this piece. Now this obviously has a big lug in the middle and the two smaller lugs. So there's two of these with holes in the outer. So they're going to go on there and push all the way down. Same with this one. Push all the way down. Then we've got this one. And then we're finishing with this one. Now this is the only one that goes the other way around. So all of these have a flat side and a ridge side. And it's the ridge side that goes up. But on the very last one, we want the ridge side to be down. So we end up with a sandwich that looks like that. We're going to place that on the engine, and then we're going to put an RP screw through that to secure it in place. So, I'm going to work out which way that goes on. So it goes on that way around. It will only go on one way. So that's going to go on there like so. I'm going to use an RP screw to secure that. And that is all there is to do in that stage. Right, so last of the build pack, issue 14. Now, obviously, these build packs now are 6 issues long. Let me know in the comments below if you want me to continue doing 6 at a time, or whether you want to maybe shorten that. Maybe I'll do an issue at a time. I know some other people do that, and some do build packs. So let me know what you want to see, and I'll see if I can do a bit of accommodation. Because obviously, this can be a bit of a mammoth build at times. You can see we've just got some more details for the engine on this one. But I'm sure if there was a really fiddly thing, the Skyline recently, for instance, that was quite fiddly and quite a lengthy video to edit and sort out. But this one doesn't seem too bad. It seems to be quite nice, this one, building the engine on this one. So, last few details of the engine for this build pack, at least. And we're going to be starting off with assembling the power steering pump. Right, so we've got all the parts for the power steering pump. I'm going to start off with this bracket. And that's just going to go this way around, that over there. And we're going to use an AM screw to secure that together. Like so. And then I'm going to get these two pieces. Now there's a keyhole shaped pattern. So I'm just going to line those two up like that. We've got a BP screw to go in from the back there. Just like so. And then going to assemble these two parts together. And there is a lug and a small cutout, so you can only put it in one way around like that. We're then going to take this desk. That's going to go on the front there. And then we've got an RP screw to hold that in place. So that's looking just like that. We then have this filter. I don't know if it's filter or reservoir, but that's going to go on the top like so. We're going to bring our engine back over, because we'll be fitting this just onto the water pump there. Obviously this is going to now secure that water pump housing in a lot better. We're going to use 2 UP screws for that. So one in there. Just put that on loose for a minute while I get the other one in. And we'll just tighten those up. that's looking like that. Now we've got a few of these belts. We're going to take the first one. That's going to go around there. And then it's going to go onto our crank pulley here. Now I'd probably say put it onto the crank pulley first and then stretch it over to that one there. I probably have put that on a little bit too deep, so it goes on that one there. So it's not the very back one, it's the next one in that we need to put that onto. Next we have the fan compressor pulleys. And they consist of these parts. And they are going on to the water pump housing. Now this one does have a cutout, as you can see, and that's just to accommodate for the cutout or the mount on that cylinder there. Then I'm going to follow that up with this one, and yeah, it's got two lugs on. That's going to line up with the two holes on the back of that, like so. And then we've got this one that goes on the end there. Just going to leave that to one side for a second, and then we're going to concentrate on the fan. So starting with this one, we've got this that's going to go just there, and it's going to assemble onto the back of this one. So that there, and that there. Now it does have two shaped lugs, as you can see, so they all only go on one way around, but we've got a fan that looks just like that now, and that is going onto the front of this, just like that. And we're going to use an RP screw to secure that one in place. Now, I was just about to put that RP screw in, however, I've decided not to because of the next step. The next step, we need to run some bands around these three pulleys. Now, obviously, you could theoretically put it over the top of that fan, but I reckon you'll break a fan blade. So my recommendation is to put the pulleys, the belts on now, and then we'll put that on. So we've got two bands on here, two on here, and two on here. So what I recommend doing, just pop those over the top of that one first. Make sure your fan's together. Now the fan has a key-shaped hole, so that only go on one way onto that pulley, like so. Now secure that RP screw in place. The fan blade falls off. So we've now got that on there, and it's around these two pulleys. So we just need to take one of our bands around there and around there, like so. And that is probably an easier way of doing it than trying to fiddle behind that fan. But that is all there is to do in that stage, and all there is to do in that build pack. That is looking absolutely fantastic. Now I've just noticed that one of my leads have come off here, so I might have to resort to gluing them on top of the distributor cap. So something to look out for. You might have noticed in one of the parts of the videos, this kept falling off, so I have glued that in place. So another note to take care of there, that you don't want to lose this piece. So, but that's looking pretty good. I think we've pretty much completed the engine. Now, there must be a small detail up here that we still need to do, but it's looking really good. Thank you for watching. I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please remember to give him a big thumbs up. So, that engine is looking absolutely fantastic. And it's certainly got a good weight to it. Obviously, there's a few metal parts in there, so it's certainly not as heavy as the GTR engine, but it's certainly got a good bulk to it. I think hopefully those cables will stay in place. Otherwise, I'm going to have nightmares like I did with the Knight Rider build. Those pipes and cables went everywhere. If you want to get this for yourself, do remember to check out the links below. There will be links for Fanhome. There's also links there for Mike Lane, Chloe Power over at Model Mods. Those are epic modders that do epic things. So do please check those out as well. Also, while you're there, check the merch store. Maybe they'll find something that you fancy in there. If you want to see more of how this progresses or anything else that goes on in the channel, please do remember to hit the subscribe button and ding that bell, and then you'll be notified when I release new videos. Until the next time, I'll see you around. Cheers.